Hey everyone, my name's Steve, and today I'm going to show you how I use Raycast to supercharge my productivity. If you're not familiar with Raycast, you can kind of think of it like a upgraded version of the built-in Spotlight feature in Mac, where you hit maybe Command Space and you're able to search different things. But honestly, that's kind of a poor comparison because Raycast can do so much more. Raycast has a lot of features that give it so much power, including third-party extensions and even AI features, which we'll get into today. And just a disclaimer, this is just my approach and my opinion of how I use Raycast. It might be different from person to person, but for context in my workflow, I do a lot of troubleshooting with APIs, work for a SaaS company, and we also do tutorials, blog posts, code samples, things like that. So you might see that along the way and see how I use it, but the way you use it could be totally different. With all that said, let's get into it. One of the first things I use a lot is something called quick links. And quick links are almost like bookmarks or really easy ways to get access to static sites or to query a site as well. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I open Raycast with just Command Space and it shows up right there. And I can do something like I have one for Tmux. You can see there's got a quick link here and just hit enter. And that's basically going to take me to a Tmux cheat sheet, which is really pretty nice. So you can just basically do websites. Where it gets really interesting is if you need to query something on a website. In my job, I use something called IPFS a lot, and it's a protocol for file sharing. And usually you access a lot of those files through a gateway. And it's nice to very quickly grab a CID and access it through a gateway. And I'll show you kind of how that works. So I just hit Command Space and I have the letter I for gateway. And you can see here it already kind of brings up a very brief thing where I can kind of select different ones. And it has these queries right here, which is really cool. So if I hit Tab again, it'll give the query and I'll paste in my CID. And you can see what it does here is that we have the initial gateway URL and then we have the content that I queried. So, there's a lot of really cool things you could do with this, such as like querying Twitter, or if you have your own websites that have very special use cases and you need to query something very quickly, this is a really great way to do it. Another one of my favorite features is floating notes, and it's super simple. I have it set up as a shortcut on my keyboard is just command period, but you can also access it through here. You can just say quick notes. I think it's actually toggle quick notes. Toggle floating notes window. There you go. And look, you get this nice little window right here. Very fun. You can change the theme if you want, and you can just type whatever you want in here. And what's really nice is that this will basically only save it as just raw text. So if you have any kind of formatting, you just paste it in there. It takes out the formatting, which is really nice sometimes when you need that. But just the ability to say command period and just access that all day long is awesome. So it's a great scratch pad. It's a lot easier to access than like the default Mac OS one that's like down here sometimes. I don't like that one as much. So floating notes is a great thing I use all the time. Another really fun one is just calculator. It's got a built-in calculator into the app. So you can basically say 50 times 60 and you'll get the answer. You can copy it. And what's really nice is you can actually still get your clipboard, your calculator history. So I can do calculator history and I can look at all the different calculations I've done. And I think some of my favorite things with the calculator is that it can do some of the weird stuff. Like if you need to do cups calculations, like cups to ounces, fluid ounces, the weird metric to standard systems, even like temperature. So if I'm like, what's 20 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? It's right there. Just bam. So awesome. Love the little calculator feature. Another amazing feature that I use all the time is the clipboard history. There's a lot of different apps out there that kind of do similar things that are like clipboard managers, but the fact that it's built into Raycast and it's so good makes it excellent. And so I have a keyboard shortcut set up for that one as well, which is Command Shift C, brings up my clipboard history. And from here, I can do a lot of different things. I can search for something. I can search for GitHub and look at all the different GitHub stuff I have. And I can, once I click on one of these, I can just paste it, or it copies it to clipboard, or it'll paste it into the application I'm using. And what's really nice is that you can kind of filter between different types. You can do images, files, links, colors. You can pin certain ones that you use a lot. So if these are like blog posts or file references that I use a lot that I might give to people, super handy for that. What's really nice is it can preview images and it'll actually grab the text from those images as well. Super, super powerful in that sense. So any kind of OCR content that you have. So if you're looking at an image and it says the word Raycast, you search Raycast, it's going to show up. It's so great. And I love that it gives preview colors as well. Very helpful when you're doing, web development kind of stuff, searching for code, things like that. It's amazing. The best clipboard manager I've ever seen. And one last thing on the clipboard history that I absolutely love is that in the settings, you can actually decide which applications are not going to get copied to the clipboard history. That's really important to me as someone who uses a password manager, and I might be copying tokens or passwords into an application. I don't want that stuff sticking around my clipboard history, making it a vulnerability. It makes it very easy to make sure that stuff never goes into clipboard history with Raycast. Very nice. Now, one feature that I'm not even sure if it's a feature, but something I think makes Raycast so powerful is just simply hotkeys. If you're like me and you love using your keyboard to its fullest potential and getting as much speed out of it as possible, hotkeys with Raycast are the best. You basically can associate any kind of command inside of Raycast or application to a hotkey. So for instance, I can try to open a application like Alacrity or something, switches to it, etc. But I can also associate a hotkey to open up a new window. So for instance, I have Command Enter or Control Enter, and there we go. We have a fresh new terminal. You can also do things like assign it to very particular Raycast extensions like the emoji picker. So for instance, I have Command P, very fun, love that. I also have, I believe, Command Option GIF, Command Option G for GIF. So if I ever need to find a quick GIF and paste it into Slack, it's the best. I absolutely love it. I also have another one for memes. You could generate a meme using the meme extension. Amazing. Probably the most productive is this one, confetti. It's the best. If you want to get really nerdy, which is what I've done, is you can, if you have a keyboard that's like QMK or VIA compatible where you can program macros, I basically taken some of these shortcuts and programmed them into one key. So for instance, my F6 key is my confetti key. I love that, and I can hear my keyboard do it. Another great thing built into Raycast is its window management system. I don't use this as much anymore since I'm starting to use a tiling window manager, but it still really comes in handy. Essentially, I can open a window, and if I wanted to, I could say left half. It's going to move it to left half. I could say right half. You can, some of my favorites, honestly, are like almost maximize, which is like that nice perfect size where you don't want to take up the full screen, but it's really close. Really also love reasonable size. I use that one a lot. Really nice window management system. And of course, with those hotkeys, you could really have a nice window management system without dedicating to like a tiling window manager or something like that. And something I'll go over really quickly is just the feature of third-party extensions. Raycast has a really great developer API that allows you to create your own extensions and publish them to their store so that other people can use them. And of course, it's such a popular tool that there are so many great extensions. I'll show you a few of my favorites. So one of them is Vercel. So if you want, you can search your deployments and get previews of your deployments. Really nice if you're like pushing stuff out and you want to make sure it's still working or checking out the development branch. Gives you all that information here, very easy to click on. It's very cool. Another one of my favorites is Jira. So if you're someone who has to use Jira for work, they have a great extension that allows you to search issues, create issues, update them. It's very, very nice to, put all that information in and do it straight from Raycast. You don't have to go to the website and click all that stuff out. You just very quickly fill it out. It's lovely. Another really fun one is Spotify, which they've recently updated. And it's really nice, is that you can kind of search through different songs, search through different playlists, and access a lot of your Spotify controls through Raycast. It's amazing. And again, that's just a handful. There is a whole lot more, and they have the ability to make some of these extensions and even keep them private between your teams. So if your team that has maybe sensitive things you may want to work on and Raycast can help you boost that productivity, you can have a team account that keeps that stuff private. So this next feature is probably Raycast's most powerful feature, and it's one of the more recent ones, and that is its AI feature. Because Raycast is so accessible anywhere you are on your computer, it plugs into OpenAI's APIs and makes things like ChatGPT really accessible without having to go to websites or anything else like that, having a separate application. And it's honestly mind-blowing how well this thing works. Let me show you. One of the simplest ways you can do it is just by asking a question. So I can say, what is the capital of Spain? And if I just hit tab, it's going to ask AI. And I can just paste that finding into my respective application, or I can hit Command J to continue that in a chat, which is really cool. If you press Command J or whatever that hotkey is to continue the chat, it'll take you into this really nice screen where you have a separate window. Makes it very easy to move around. You can select old chats and just ask away. How hot is the sun? And what's really nice is if you're doing things like code work and you need to ask code questions, it has some really great responses that are done in Markdown with copying different responses. So for instance, I have this one of starting a new Go project, has multiple things, and I can just click on that to copy answers. Really fun stuff. Another feature that Raycast has built in is that it can actually target selected text and then do things with that text. That's really intense. So, for instance, if I select an entire paragraph or an email I'm writing, I can just highlight it and say, make longer. And so this is the way it turns into an entire paragraph of 128 words. Incredible. And honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg with Raycast AI features. There's a whole lot more you can do with it, and they even give you an AI API extension if you're on their pro plan, so you can actually kind of build your own commands, extensions, and things that you might do very frequently. It's super powerful. If you use AI a lot in your workflow, highly recommend it. So that's it. Those are the top ways I use Raycast to help my productivity. I hope you found this helpful, and if you already use Raycast and have your own ways of how it helps you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, so feel free to drop one below, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of that content. Until next time, have a good one.
Timpanogos, rising sun, far above us, there is no